It's great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show, where our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And you may be traveling in your vehicle today. Hope that means you're off to some really exciting place. Family, friends, or sightseeing for the Thanksgiving holiday. No traffic today on the roads. Yeah, right. But I do have a warning for you I'm giving about booking any future travel coming straight ahead, whether it's a cruise, a rental house, a tour package, pretty much any, even an airline ticket. And later, speaking of driving, cars are so expensive right now. I'm going to give you my tips if you're in the market for a new one. So, yet another smaller cruise line just filed for bankruptcy. And I said another because there's been a plague of this. Smaller cruise lines that sail out of U.S. ports, those that sail overseas, tour operators, riverboat cruises. There's something that they're asking you to do that I don't want you to do. And by the way, while we're talking about companies going out of business, a number of small airlines around the world have gone bust. And there are several in the United States that are not in great financial shape. So I want to talk about not having your money take a trip and you not get to take it. I don't want you being lured in by a tour operator or a cruise line saying, hey, you pay us by check and we're going to give you a 5% discount or a 7% discount or a 3% discount or whatever the discount is. When the discount particularly is higher than their credit card processing costs, which are usually for a travel supplier that are doing big ticket items, going to be about 1.5%. If they're suddenly offering you a 5% or 7% discount for giving them your checking account number and letting them debit the money that way, ACH it, here's what's going on. They may be on credit watch from the credit card operators, and there's a big, what's known as holdback. So money paid in, the tour operator or cruise line that's on credit watch doesn't have access to most of that money you're paying in. They only have access to a portion of it. So in order to keep the ship going or the tours touring, they may try to get people booking future dates to pay by checking account. They get all that money right away. But here's the distinction that really matters. If that airline, cruise line, tour operator, I'm trying to think what other travel supplier, vacation rental, if they go bust or fly the coop, whatever, your money's gone. There's no way for you to reclaim that money. No way to do it. Two possible ways you recapture that money. One is you pay by credit card, not ironclad and foolproof, but often the way you get your money restored to you. There's a big financial incentive for the credit card industry to give you that money back so that you have extra incentive going forward to pay for travel by credit card. And then they get all those credit card merchant fees. And so the second one is true trip insurance that covers supplier default. If you buy a policy direct from the travel supplier, it's usually not insurance. It's their protection plan. And you're not protected from anything if they go bust. With real trip insurance, some do cover the supplier going bust, others don't. If that's something you're trying to protect against with a tour operator, cruise line, whatever, you want to make sure that before you give up your period of review on the policy, because in most states, because trip insurance is regulated by the states, you will have a period of time, a look-see period, maybe 15 days, 30 days, where you can say, thanks, but no thanks, I want my money back for the policy, because it does not, as you look at it, does not cover what you were really trying to protect yourself from, and that's protect all your money you paid in from the supplier going bust. So just be aware and be wary when somebody's dangling a little discount from you for paying cash, they're not being your friend, in the travel business at least.
All right, we've got some questions for you that involve travel. The first one's from Mike in California. We're visiting our daughter this December in Austria. My wife reserved a hotel in Vienna through, should I say the website?
Yeah, go ahead.
Expedia, and it was listed as a pay when you arrive at the property and had listed dates where she could cancel for no cost. Then, last week, the property tried to charge our credit card. Apple Card declined it, but now the property is reaching out to us to collect the full fee. Expedia has basically stopped helping us and says that the property can set different guidelines, even though that's not what was listed on their site.
Oh, come on. That is classic Expedia, contracted out, customer no service. If you book the reservation as one that you pay upon arrival and that you had a period of time that you were eligible to cancel free of any cancellation fee, that's what you have. And that is ridiculous. What I would do is I would go ahead and cancel that booking. If that's going to put you in a position that doesn't work for you, I would get out of that and then rethink where you book. Now, a lot of times people book with Expedia and it goes by without a hitch. My experience with Expedia is when a problem pops up, that's where Expedia face plants on you and is not there for you. They have cheapened out so much on the customer service side that they have now become postgraduates of customer no service. So just know that Expedia comes up again and again in the travel industry with problems that consumers have that Expedia does not solve. And as I always say when we name a company, if Expedia would like to have somebody come on the podcast and YouTube show and say why I'm wrong and why they actually do offer customer service instead of customer no service, I'm happy to have them here.
And it sounds like toward the end, Mike says that they did try to cancel. I think they did try to cancel because it has bad reviews. So maybe they tried to cancel, but then they're being charged. So definitely, it's good that Apple Card denied it. I think you might have to do a chargeback, right, if they keep trying to charge?
Well, I mean, if they haven't charged, then there's nothing to charge back.
Right.
But
I mean, if
with Expedia, I can tell you, they pop up a lot on Elliott.org, stories about customer no service with Expedia. I would go to Elliott.org, and they've got contacts at Expedia, as they do for other companies where people are in customer no service nightmares, and use their contact sheet to see if you can get to an actual human who actually works for Expedia instead of some contract call center, and get this solved and resolved.
All right. Les in Florida says, we have reservations on a cruise from Basel, Switzerland on May 31st of 26 to Amsterdam on June 10th. We plan to spend a day or two in the Bavona Valley in Switzerland before the cruise begins. When and how is the best way to purchase plane tickets from Orlando to Zurich and from Amsterdam back to Orlando for this trip? And how can Krista come with us? Just kidding. Les didn't write that part.
Les, I love Basel. That is such a great area of Switzerland. So going into Basel, out of Amsterdam, from Orlando. So Orlando is an interesting market to Europe because there are a very large number of discount flight operators that fly out of Sanford Field in the northern part of the Orlando metro area at much lower prices than what you're usually going to have out of Orlando International to Europe. And so it all depends less how convenient you want this to be versus how inexpensive. So if you looked at what was available with some of the discounters out of Sanford to Europe, you would then get to wherever it is in Europe, and you'd go from there down to Basel, probably by train. And then on the reverse, when you're done, you'd go from Amsterdam back to wherever the cheap flight was. Could be out of Amsterdam, as an example. And that would be the cheapest way. But if you want to go conventional, like you said, and you want to go into Basel or near Basel, and then back out of Amsterdam, the time you'd really look at this would be February, March. I hope that doesn't make you nervous. It's not that far away. But airlines tend to get a good feel for advanced bookings closer to late spring and early summer when they get to February, March. And you could set up fare alerts for this on Google Flights and see what you can do doing the combination you're talking about.
Okay. Do you want me to name this website?
Oh, yeah.
Would you, this is from Elaine in Florida. Sorry about that, Elaine. Elaine's question, would you comment on flybasis.com? Is it legitimate? Do you recommend using it, and do you still get your frequent flyer miles if you go through them?
So likely you don't get frequent flyer miles, and they do, by their telling, and there's not a huge number of complaints about them, where usually an operator like them, there's a lot of complaints. But what they do is they buy people's frequent flyer points, is their number one strategy, and use those to book you on your fare. As long as the flights go when they're supposed to go, and they've legitimately bought miles from an airline that allows that, then that's okay, and you can save substantial amount of money. I have looked at their fares before, and their big savings are on the front of the plane, not in coach. And the fare differences can be quite large using them, but you're going through an intermediary. And if there is a problem with the flight and you ended up with the ticket the way you did through a third party and not your own points, that could be a problem. Now, another strategy they employ is using how airfares can be cheaper purchased out of a third country than being purchased out of the U.S. So they might buy you a ticket out of who knows where in the world, where fares, because of currency differences or whatever, could be cheaper from somewhere else. I have never bought a ticket from one of these. They used to be called in the general category of consolidators. Just because of what I do for a living, I've heard a lot of people where things have gone wrong and they've been stranded somewhere. So it is your choice. It is opportunity attached to hazard when you use one of these third-party booking sources. Was I too wishy-washy on that?
No, I don't
You think that was okay? Because it is truly hazard versus opportunity.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't do it. I just have to say I'm too risk averse.
Just because we hear, so we don't hear from people, gosh, I saved all this money. It was the greatest thing ever. We hear from people, hey, I booked with this third party and this happened and that happened and the other happened.
Yeah, it's not like, to me, the risk is really, like if I plan a trip overseas or whatever, a lot of these are like, do you want to get a business class ticket overseas? And then I get to the airport and it's ruined. That would be really tough. Or you have to pay unbelievable money for a last minute ticket.
Well, we've heard both of those things.
Yes.
But not about them.
Yeah.
We
haven't heard about them.
We haven't heard.
But they may not be big enough yet.
Complaints.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so talk about something that's crazy, crazy expensive. If you go back in the Wayback Machine, cars were not that expensive, even going back 15 years ago. Now, the average cost of a new vehicle is, first time ever, over $50,000. So what if you need new wheels, or you, better yet say, want new wheels? What's the strategy that could save you a substantial amount of money? I'm going to share with you a couple of them straight ahead. 50 grand for a vehicle. I mentioned the Wayback Machine. I don't know if you know what the Wayback Machine was, a cartoon. Somebody, Peabody something, whatever. Anyway, to show you how weird it is that the average vehicle now is over $50,000, new vehicle. The first piece of real estate I ever bought was a foreclosure. I bought a 2-bedroom townhouse for $36,000. You even take inflation over the years, it would still be like probably 120 if you went up like almost 4 times. 50 grand for a vehicle. I mean, that's a lot. But it's not the whole story. Because not like they're a huge bargain, but if you look at passenger vehicles, cars, instead of passenger vehicles, SUVs, a traditional car, lots of cars are still available around 30 grand. So yeah, not dirt cheap, but compared to an average cost of $50,000, come on. That's if you're going to buy new. And one of the things pushing these prices up are how much pickup trucks are costing now. And pickup trucks are totally different than they used to be. Pickup trucks used to be the most barren vehicles you could buy in the U.S. They used to have just metal floors and vinyl seats and maybe a basic radio that just had a dial, not even buttons, and probably a column shifter. I'm going back in time to know what a column shifter is. But the point is, trucks used to be basic, industrial, work kind of vehicles. Today, they're a lifestyle choice. And the pickup trucks are a fortune, except they don't have to be. I mean, look what Ford has done with the Maverick pickup truck that is about half the cost new of the typical pickup truck. So some of this we're doing to ourselves with the choices of vehicles we're buying. But ultimately, even today with inflated used vehicle prices, on most models, buying used is going to be so much cheaper a choice than buying new. And something that has not changed is that used electric vehicles that have a couple of years on them are still a steal of a deal. I mean, you look at Tesla Model 3s and Model Ys, what they're worth 2 years in is a fraction of what people paid for them new. And there's real opportunity to save, not just buying them, but then owning them because they're so much cheaper to run than a gas engine vehicle. So, yeah, it's true. It's ridiculous. Over $50,000. But it doesn't have to be. Krista?
Okay, I got some questions for you. Ryan in Wisconsin says, you've mentioned several times on your show and in your Clark.com articles that you need to have the car inspected by a certified diagnostic mechanic of your choosing as a condition of purchase.
You're buying used.
Right. However, I've never heard you reference what to do with the information your inspection finds. If there are problems in the inspection that weren't disclosed by the dealer, but that aren't deal breakers for me, what can I do to get a better deal, and how strong is my bargaining position at this point?
What a great question. So it's always been a kind of thing that I've always thought a yes or no. You're asking a very different question, because what you're hoping to find with that inspection is that the vehicle, as best the mechanic can figure, is free of any major problems that are sitting there that could cost you a fortune. Problems with the engine, transmission, whatever. Let's say that they do find minor things wrong with the vehicle. Your question is the answer. You use that as a negotiating tool with the dealer. Say, hey, the mechanic found this problem and that problem and the other. I think I'd still like the car, but I'm not comfortable with the price anymore. What kind of deal can we make now? That you use it as leverage to make a better deal. Because I actually have never thought of that, that the inspection would not kill the deal if there were problems, but that it might sour the deal a little bit.
Okay, speaking of inspections, Harvey in Nevada says you've talked about considering used EVs when buying a car. My wife and I are talking about cars now, but having never shopped for an EV, some questions are coming up. What should be included in an EV inspection? Who can perform the inspection? Where would we find an independent repair shop, or do we depend on the dealer selling the car? And how much do we determine how much life is left? How do we determine how much life is left in the batteries and how much degradation is acceptable?
Okay, Harry, I love these questions. No one has ever asked me this.
Right.
You got two in a row that are wrinkles different than I've ever been asked. Okay, so with an electric vehicle, the greatest worry is the batteries. And the batteries should come with a very lengthy warranty from the manufacturer that is transferred to you as a subsequent owner. That could be 10 years, could be 8. We'll have some kind of mileage cap, could be 100,000 miles or more, whatever it is. The degradation of the battery, depending on the model, you may be able to see diagnostics that will show you how much the battery has degraded. But the easiest answer is, what will it say expected range is at full charge versus what, when that vehicle was originally sold, which you can find online, what was the expected range of a full charge? And that gap will tell you how much the battery range has degraded. What you're really looking for, though, often on an electric vehicle, is what you're looking for on a newer gas engine vehicle that you're buying used, and that is that it's been in a wreck and that there was undisclosed damage to the body. And that's something that a body shop can do because often when people are buying a used EV, they're looking at one 3 years old, 2 years old, something like that. And that's why I'm more worried about it having been in a wreck than I am other things you might be concerned about with the vehicle.
Katie in Washington says, I'm reaching out to get your thoughts about my current car situation. My 13-year-old Ford Escape that I planned to drive for many more years died during the pandemic, and I had to buy a car at what was the worst time in history to buy one. I went with a 2022 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid.
Oh, during COVID.
Right. It's the base model, and it cost $45,000.
Whoa!
I currently owe $17,000 on it, and my monthly payment is $750. I like the size of the car, and I feel safe, but it's so ugly, and I miss my leather heated seats and sunroof. I also really want to go all electric. I even get free charging at work. The Rivian R1 is my dream car, but it is out of my budget. In prior episodes, you've said people who got stuck buying cars during the pandemic at a ridiculous price should keep them. But I also know you're a big fan of electric. What do you think I should do? I don't want to take on a bigger monthly payment, but I also don't want to spend $750 a month on a car I don't enjoy driving. I'm 43 years old. I make around $350K a year.
$350,000 a year?
But my mortgage is $6,500 a month, even after putting $800K down. I bought a house a year ago when the rates were high, and I'm based in Seattle, where housing prices are high. I have $200K in the stock market and $389K in my 401K. I was an elementary school teacher for 8 years and then switched to big tech. So while my income is significant now, I was living paycheck to paycheck into my mid-30s. So, do I keep the RAV4 and keep paying a high monthly rate for a car I don't love, or do I start all over on an electric SUV?
So you really threw me the curveball with the huge annual income. The remaining amount owed on the RAV4, 17 grand. The RAV4, 3 model years old, is probably worth a fair amount more than that. Toyotas have the slowest depreciation of any model, most models of Toyotas. And so you owe on it, didn't say how many. What's the remaining balance?
17.5, I thought.
Yeah.
17,000.
So a little less than 2 years of your payments. So at your income, this is really a lifestyle choice for you. If you want to bail on the RAV4, there are plenty of people out there who don't think it's ugly, who would love to own one that's 3 years old. And I would consider selling it. Now, on the other hand, you hate the vehicle, you hate the monthly payment. You're going to start all over with meaningful monthly payments that will likely be higher on an electric vehicle. So this is really a lifestyle choice for you to make. And vehicles that we're in a lot all day long are important to us. And if you hate the RAV4 and you can afford but not like making a payment, then go ahead and make the choice. So on the question of the Rivian, I love them, but before you buy one, please go read the Consumer Reports review of it. The Consumer Reports rating is not fantastic, and I would just like you to read that first. And if you do decide to dump the RAV4 and go to the Rivian, that you go in fully with your eyes open. And man, what an amazing income you got going from teaching school to working in tech. And the other thing is, what it means is that 401k you have, you're going to be able to continue to contribute so much money to it over the years. It's going to be a wonderful help to you creating long-term financial security, because that's one of the great things about tech is they got money in wheelbarrows and you get to grab some of it. And I want to tell you, have an absolutely wonderful Thanksgiving. Whatever it is you do for Thanksgiving, I hope that you get an opportunity to be thankful for what you've got, the people in your life, family, friends, and that you do get to spend time tomorrow and throughout the holiday season, all the way into the new year, that this is a time of joy, connecting, and reconnecting for you with your family and your friends. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.